There were more layoffs at the San Diego Union-Tribune this week. 112 employees will let go, including reporters, photographers, and editors. So far, more than 300 staffers have been swept out since Platinum Equity bought the newspaper in May. And with me to analyze what this latest contraction of San Diego's major daily newspaper means is Barbara Bree, associate publisher and opinion editor of SDNN.com, and Kent Davy, editor of the North County Times, and welcome to you both. What does this latest announcement from the Union-Tribune indicate in terms of where the paper is headed, Barbara?
Gloria, what's happening to the San Diego Union-Tribune is happening to newspapers all over the country. It's what's called the innovator's dilemma. It's the title of a book by Clay Christensen at Harvard Business School. When horse and buggies, were very prosperous and cars came along, didn't matter how beautiful the horse and buggy was, how cheaply you made it, people didn't want it anymore. But they still wanted transportation. People still want news. They're just getting it in a different place. They're getting it more from the internet. And that is what is happening and why newspapers all over the country are laying off people. Their business has changed, and it has changed more quickly than they thought it would because of the recession and the drastic decline in print ad revenue.
So do you see this, Kent? I mean, you edit a print newspaper. Barbara's with an online newspaper. Do you see this as the beginning of the demise of print newspapers?
Yes and no. We're in an industry that's changing. I am, by the way, an editor of an online newspaper as well.
Okay.
And that's part of the change. The flight isn't, Barbara's right, the flight isn't from people consuming news. There, in fact, in one sense, you could say there's an explosion of news sources out there. There is a flight in the efficacy of a print paper as an advertising medium delivering. On the other hand, I think you can also make an argument that those print publishers that are likely to survive and find a path are those that have got a niche strategy that makes sense, and it's the one that you hear bandied around in the industry of local news.
It sounds as though the UT is trying to carve out some kind of a niche. Even though it's laying off personnel, it's saying that it wants to increase the story count in the print edition. How can you do more with less?
Well,
more stories, less personnel.
Most reporters know more than they put in a paper or put in a story any given day. So one of the things that you do is to say to reporters, look, I need you, instead of writing a 30-inch story, I need two 12s. You cover more ground, and to the extent that you can broaden your appeal, that's how you do that.
Okay, well, for the years, the Union-Tribune has been the dominant paper in this region. What would the community lose if a paper of this size cut so many staff, starts shrinking or changing or even focusing on smaller communities?
Well, Gloria, I think it opens up new opportunities for all the news media in the region. I mean, we don't just have one news source in this region. We have TV, we have radio, we have KPBS, we have the North County Times, we have community newspapers, we have SDNN.com, which launched 4 months ago. There are a lot of places people in San Diego can turn for local news. I think what used to be in many communities was the primary newspaper was sort of looked to as the ultimate source, and now people have many sources that are easier to access.
But as Kent was saying, the new owners are targeting a different kind of advertising, perhaps targeting small businesses with reduced rates. I mean, maybe that's the new business model.
Well, the new business model, and everybody is searching for it, is how can you be profitable and cover a local community and provide value to your readers and your advertisers. And the Union-Tribune is taking one path. The North County Times has a path in terms of serving its community. SDNN has a path. We're trying to create what we call the newsroom of the future. And our journalists, they go out, they do audio, they do video, they do, they'll do a podcast, they'll do print. We try to use lots of graphs. So everybody is coming at it from a different way.
Well, picking up on what Barbara says, it also looks as though the Union-Tribune is trying to enhance its online image too. It's going to redesign its website. It's going to target perhaps smaller communities. Sounds like it's doing everything it can.
Union-Tribune has a very robust website. It has a large active viewership. There's a lot of material on there. It, just like us and just like Barbara, is an online organization. The danger I see in the contraction that happens is that as you contract, particularly as you lose people who have been associated with an institution, a community a long time, is you cut off institutional memory. It's much harder for somebody who is just come into a shop and is new, say, from out of town to understand what the politics of downtown have been than it is for the guy that's been, or the woman who's been covering it for 20 years.
Okay.